Welcome to BliXX. We are Ariana and Beatrice, and together we are BliXX, and today we share a new sex positive education interview with you. On our website, experienceblix.com, we host the world's best teachers and facilitators who put their love and effort into creating amazing online courses for you. Today we welcome Hilary Kimball, a dear sister and conscious sexuality coach who serves other women in their sexual empowerment. We will talk about her path and her upcoming live online program, a 7-week initiation into the wonders of the Jade Egg. Yay!
Welcome, Hilary, and thank you very much for taking the time to be here with us and with all our audience. We call them BliXXers. Very good. So we would like to get to know you. So if you can talk a little bit about yourself and your mission in the world.
Yeah, sure. I think that I could put my mission down into 2 words, which is pussy love. It's basically encouraging women to not only to love their pussy, but to connect with this part of the body, to feel her, to know her, to have a relationship with the female body. You know, it's something that most of the women in the world are not taught from a young age. And I've definitely gone through that process of reclamation, and I've seen a lot of other women go through that process of really getting to know this part of the body, and not only getting to know it, but to like harness the energies and work with them and like feel the benefits, not only in sexuality, but like as it spills over into the rest of life. So yeah, I would say my mission as a teacher, as an educator, as a coach is to spread pussy love all around the planet and not to stop until every single woman on the planet loves her pussy.
What do you think, how do you think the world will change if this happens?
Yeah. So obviously the world is in a crazy, crazy state right now. And I really believe that this work of women reclaiming their sexuality, their yoni, their sexual energy, it's a reclamation of the feminine. And I think a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in the world right now, it has to do with this very like a destructive masculine energy, certainly not a divine masculine energy, which is beautiful and amazing, but a very destructive one. So I think that when women reclaim the feminine within their own bodies, in their womb space, in their yonis, it's like they start to light up from the inside out. They start to live a life that's just like a little more joyful, a little more pleasurable, and also I find actually not a little bit more, but a lot more aligned with what they're really meant to be doing here on this planet in this lifetime. And you know, I really believe that the way that we as women and also as men, the way that we treat the feminine inside of our own bodies, whether we're ignoring it or neglecting it, or whether we're loving it and celebrating it and honoring it and treating it as sacred, this also reflects on not only an individual level, but a societal level, how we treat the feminine outside of us. So how we treat the earth, how we treat the waters, how we relate to each other, how we work, how we live, how we love, how we raise our children. So, you know, I know that I'm biased because this is the work that I love and that I do in myself and offer into the world. But I really honestly, like, I see and I believe that this changes us. It changes not only individuals, but it changes families, it changes communities, it changes how we relate with one another and how we interact with the natural environment. And we need this stuff in our world today. It's like we're at a turning point where if we don't do something different, if we don't do something to actually honor the feminine and also come into a balance with the masculine, with the divine masculine, with the divine feminine, it's like we're kind of screwed as people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you say, that the change, it has to be towards this feminine leadership, or otherwise it will never be.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I totally support this starting from within, and as well. I mean, we can already see the transformation, especially in women.
For
That are
sure.
starting to do this job, how much they are like leveling up the game. So
And
thank
the
you.
world needs strong, embodied, really like empowered women, not empowered in like, I'm a strong woman and it comes from here, but something that's like deeply rooted, like from the inside out, you know?
Beautiful. Thank you very much for doing this work.
No, it's my pleasure. Thankfully, it's my pleasure.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear you saying that an empowered and choosy woman is connected to purpose and connected to the earth and to her relationships. Is there anything else how this empowerment affects a woman in her being?
Yeah, well, let's talk about like kind of the opposite of like a woman who's embodied and empowered in her sexuality. And this was absolutely where I came from. This is the case of what I see a lot of most women in the world actually being in. And it's like, I don't mean that in like a shameful or a judgmental way at all. It's just what we're taught. So it's like the other side of the spectrum is like our light is dim, we're shut down physically, energetically, emotionally, maybe where we don't even know what we want as women in our bodies, in our sexuality, in our relationships, and in our overall lives. We're settling for less. We're just kind of like, okay, like that's enough. Like my desires and my needs and my wants, like they don't matter so much. So it's like this feeling of unworthiness that so many women have. It's like almost like, it's an epidemic in some ways. It's the like feeling of like I'm not worth it, and like, oh, it's okay, let me just like brush like what I really want, or that like deep dream or desire, like let me just brush that away. So like another effect, as you asked, it's like when we start to go to the female body, when we start to reconnect, not because we need to get anything, not because we need to get pleasure or get orgasm, which of course are beautiful and amazing, but just because it's a beautiful, worthwhile thing, because the female body holds so much space for intuition and wisdom and guidance and love and compassion and connection. Like when we start to go there, all of the stuff that we're holding as women, the woundings, the traumas, the ancestral stuff, the cultural stuff, the individual stuff, it starts to like bubble up to the surface. And it's like a healing process happens. And like, I'm not going to lie that it can be difficult and it can be painful, but it's beautiful because it frees us, or it supports us to be freed from these things that, as I said, like they're just kind of like holding us back. So it's like this work, I feel like, takes women from this kind of like either really like held back state like this, or just kind of like a nice girl like I really used to be, like not really feeling, living from here up, not really connected, like life is okay, it's fine, like, it's beautiful in some senses, but it's not like juicy, it's not alive, it's not like super aligned with passion and purpose and spirit, so yeah, like I feel like this aspect of healing and cleansing, again, it's not only our own stuff, but it's ancestral, communal, collective stuff also, that's like coming up to be transformed and alchemized through this work.
Yeah, I agree. We have a lot to do and a lot to rewire in the whole energy, the way how, as you said before, the feminine has been treated over centuries, and how we treat our earth over centuries, and it's time for all of us to wake up in that. Yeah.
And how do we treat ourselves as well, women? Because at the end, is many times we are the one that makes this choice that my husband goes first, my son or my daughter go first, or I give them the best and I take what is left. This
Exactly.
I have seen in my family the whole life.
Yeah. It's like we serve everyone else first, and then we give ourselves the leftovers. if there's even anything left over at all. You know, most of the time it's just like, especially if a woman has a family, has children that she's tending to, it's just like, oh, exhaustion, there's nothing left for me. And the irony is that it's like when we do prioritize some space for filling ourselves and nurturing ourselves in this way, in these ways, like it spills over into all the other areas in our lives.
And how does the work with the Jade Egg contributes to this transformation?
Yeah, so for me, the Jade Egg is such an amazing tool for really for working with a lot of what we've been talking about, because first of all, it's a holistic tool. So it's not like the Jade Egg just does this one thing. Like it's covering physical aspects, mental, emotional, energetic, even spiritual. So basically, when you use a Jade Egg, and I want to be really clear that like when you use an egg, you're not just meant to take the egg and like shove it inside of your vagina and like, you know, either go about your day and walk around with it or like do a practice. Like there's a whole process. There's a lot of other practices that go along with it so that you're tending to your body, you're massaging your breasts, you're massaging your vulva, you're massaging your womb. You're actually asking your vagina, do you want to receive this egg before you bring it inside? And you're actually letting the yoni take it, receive it inside. Just this in and of itself, so many women have said to me, and I've experienced this also, it is massively healing because most women on the planet have been entered time and time again before they're ready, either by their partner or themselves or a toy or something like that. And so this process of going slowly, of really listening to the body, of almost like letting the yoni have the driver's seat in a way. This is what the Jade Egg really, really teaches women to do. And it's not an intellectual teaching, it's an embodiment of it. So like there's a whole process of like really just sitting and feeling, like bringing your attention and awareness and love and breath again and again and again down into the sexual center, into the yoni. And this not only helps to, like, it's literally creating a brain vagina connection, you know, it's like waking up the nerve endings and the nerve pathways between the brain and the body. And what does that do? That creates a new relationship with not only the vagina, but the entire, like our whole sexuality. And so it's really in like how the egg is used. Like it's very, very different from how I would say most women either have sex or masturbate or self-pleasure, which tends to have a focus on, I want to experience pleasure and I want to have an orgasm and like, that's it. Nothing wrong with that. That is beautiful. And I absolutely celebrate pleasure and orgasm in every single human being on the planet. And there's other ways to approach our yonis and to approach our sexuality, like just massaging the whole outside of the yoni, the vulva, not because we need to get anything, not because we need to give ourselves pleasure, and there might be pleasure and that's fine, but just as a way to like hang out with this part of the body and get to know it, to really feel it, so that we as women start to identify more with how we feel on the inside and the inner experiences that we're having, as opposed to, you know, say how we look on the outside. So that's one way that the Jade Egg really, really supports like a new connection, a new relationship with a woman's sexuality. And then if you want to go into talking about pleasure, on a very like, and yes, let's go into talking about pleasure. It's one of the main things that like women come to the Jade Egg, a lot of women, because they're like, I want to experience more pleasure in my sexuality. I want to have vaginal orgasms. A lot of women don't feel so much. There's a lot of numbness, or they're experiencing pleasure and they're experiencing orgasm, but they're like, I know there's more. Like a lot of women, and this was totally my case, have like this intuition almost that like our sexuality like has this unlimited potential, but it's like how to access that, you know? So on a physical level, the Jade Egg is toning and strengthening the muscles in the pelvic floor. It's bringing blood flow there, hormonal flow there, energy flow there. when we have stronger muscles and we have more of a connection with our sexuality and with our yoni, especially a connection that's based on love and listening and presence and just being with as part of the body, then sensation starts to build. It's like she comes alive from the inside out. And it's a really, really beautiful like process of sexual awakening that happens to so really like, and like if a woman works with a jade egg for some time, like she's absolutely going to notice differences in her pleasure and in her orgasmic ability. It's just like, it's just what happens. And it's a really, really beautiful and amazing process.
Every single woman. Every
Literally,
single woman.
every woman, because like if you think about it, like one of the definitions of orgasm, and this is not the only way to experience orgasm, is a muscle contraction. So if you've never toned and strengthened your muscles properly in your pelvic floor, your orgasms, if you're having them at all, will be like this. If you really work with the muscles and you start to develop the tone, just like you can work with this muscle if you go to the gym and you lift some weights, you start to develop the tone, the orgasms go from this to this. And then also with the jade egg, one of the main things that we're doing is working to distribute the sexual energy throughout the entire body, because it's life force creative energy. So the orgasms can go from this to becoming full body, multi-orgasmic, energy orgasmic. It's actually a very common thing that begins to happen to women. So yes, women.
When you talk about these different orgasms, I feel my yoni is like reacting to. It's really, really nice.
Like for me, before doing these practices, orgasm was difficult for me. Like I could definitely only have an orgasm from my clitoris, and that was like when I clenched and pushed down and like tried really hard, and a lot of the times it didn't happen at all. That is completely turned around in my body. I'm highly, highly orgasmic now, energy orgasmic. I can like, orgasm is not even like, it's not even really something I think about anymore, because my body is just so orgasmic. And I really want to say I'm not special. All women have the ability to be highly, highly multi-orgasmic from literally anywhere in their bodies, from their G-spot, from their cervix, from their clitoris, from their heart, from their breast, from here, anywhere. It's just a matter of getting in tune with the energy, feeling it, cultivating it, and learning how to distribute it and spread it throughout the body. And I know that can sound a little like, wow, like, how am I going to do all that? But it's all a part of the Jade Egg process. It's like, it happens on its own when you work with the practices.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. I was, as well like Ariane, getting the transmission. And also before we went into this interview, I saw you the live, the live in your Facebook group, the Jade Temple Sisterhood, that you are sharing different lives around Johnny X, and the one that you put them yesterday. Also, you were talking about this activation, and like Ariane, you know, I could feel your transmission and really like, oh, wow. And I think I also went through the same process, you know, from being like a lot of clitoral and with imagination, because this is my first orgasm, was kind of by imagination and rubbing my clitoris, and like that I was until I was almost 30 years old. And then in Jade Egg, as well, I learned how to rewire this link between the yoni and the brain. And really, I can feel now how I am multi-orgasmic, like you say, until the point that I can really feel the transmission to the screen and get activated.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That's so beautiful. And yeah, like, again, like any woman is capable of doing this. It's like, I was like so freaking shut down in my sexuality and in my body. And it's like, again, I'm not special. Like, it's like women's bodies are wired for pleasure, you know? It's like we've just been shut down by patriarchy and religion and media and capitalism and, you know, so much for literally thousands of years, that it's like there's some rewiring to do, like you said, like rewiring in the body, in the nervous system, in our belief system is like, wow, this is actually possible for me. I can experience this. And like, yes, like it can take some time, and it can also, like for me, like the transformation, like it of course happened over a long period of time, but it's like it was very quick at the beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I'm noticing a lot of shifts and changes like right away. Like I'm sold on this.
And this is also the rewarding thing that you feel very quickly. I share the same experience when I started in opening up to my innate orgasmic potential. I started to do some practices of clenching my muscles, and all of a sudden I had this wow, mega experiences, and I started to have orgasmic waves in my body throughout the day, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. What movie is here going on now? So this is also very motivating for all women to join, that you get really quickly you see really quickly results.
Yeah.
We've been talking into this whole transformation and the rewiring. Can you share more about your journey, the 7 weeks program into the wonders of the Jade Egg that is starting November 18th? How you're creating this journey to help these women with their transformation process?
Yeah. So this journey, like it's a 7-week journey, and it's meant to build on itself. So we begin slowly and gently. One of the things that I do is I give women a lot of what I call warm-up practices. So these are basic embodied feminine self-care practices, like breast massage, like a practice that I call heart womb breath. So breathing in between the heart and the womb area. Simple practices that make a huge difference, that are basically designed to create a connection with the female body. So there's this whole area of warm-up practices, and then another area of what I call grounding and balancing practices, which are designed to do a combination of create safety in the nervous system and in the brain and in the body, and also really they're meant to literally ground the energy, to purify it, to refine it, to, you know, sometimes like something that can happen to women is they get a lot of energy and they're like, I really want to just like take this down. Or for me, it's like I use the grounding and balancing practices like when I want to go to sleep at night, or when I'm in nature and I just really want to like go into a very like Zen yin type of a space. So anyways, I give a lot of different grounding and balancing practices, a lot of different warm-up practices. When you sign up for the course, you get instant access to those. And then in the first module, actually, it's quite simple. It's learning to connect with the egg and do a practice with the egg without actually bringing it inside of the body. And I know it might be like, huh, I want to bring this egg inside the body. Like I signed up for this course, but this is an amazing practice because sometimes you're in more of a like, you know, you can call it like a winter phase, or you're on your period or your moon time and you're like, I don't want to do a full practice, but I still want to connect. So this is a really, really beautiful way to support women to connect with their egg, to bring it on the body, to have it on the heart, to massage the breast with it, to hold it over the entrance to the vagina, but without actually bringing it inside. And then we start to build. So there's 7 modules. So the remaining 6 modules, there's more beginners Jade Egg practice, there's a healing practice, there's a sexual awakening practice, there's a practice for cleansing and clearing either past lovers or belief systems or anything in your body or sexuality that you're just like completely ready to release. So there, like each module is like it's themed after something. And the way that I designed the course is that like it's meant to be done in 7 weeks, but let's be real, like we've all been there where we buy online courses and we don't finish them in the amount of time that they're meant to be done in. So you can totally go at your own pace. I will guide 1 live call per week where I actually guide that module's practice on Zoom. It's optional. If you're willing to take it, then of course the replay will be uploaded to the online portal. And then in addition to that, for each module, there's a video every week where I just, like I introduce the practice and I explain it. There's a downloadable audio practice where I guide that entire practice. And there are journaling questions that that go around that week's topic and theme as well. And then we have a Facebook group, of course, so other women can interact with each other. And another cool thing that I do is, this is an optional component of the course, but women in the past have said that it's been amazing, is I will pair women together in groups of 3, and I call it a sisterhood pod, and give you a structure to have just like a check-in call every week. And again, this is optional, but it's so, so beautiful because it gives the women a way to not only really connect with each other, but to get support and to talk about sexuality and to start to feel like, you know, there's a community around this stuff. Like I always say, this work with sexuality and Jade Egg and female body, like it is an individual path, yet I believe so strongly and deeply that it's meant to be done with other women, alongside other women in sisterhood. We just go so much deeper and higher together. We bust through shame. We realize we're not the only one. We celebrate each other. We support each other. And it's a really, really beautiful thing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. Yeah, I think this is also the work that needs to be done between women from all this patriarchal indoctrination and the system we grew up. We're so competitive towards each other, and there is so much beauty when we like opening up our vulnerabilities and reach out to one another. This is, yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's like a lot of women are just like, oh my gosh, that's like some of the most amazing benefits of doing a course like this, because it's like, it's almost like you don't realize it until you're really in it, how actually life-changing it can be to develop these kinds of relationships with other women, even if they're across the planet. Like the cool thing is that it can totally be done virtually.
Yeah, that's the gift.
For sure.
Unmute yourself, Bear, please.
Yeah, sorry, I am in a public space. That's why I don't want to be unmuted when you are talking. Yeah, thank you very much for putting this together. I have to share that I have been selling Johnny Eggs in Amazon for 7 years. And I have this thing that constantly when I send my customers an email to ask them about how was the product and what is their experience, they didn't use it. They didn't use it. So this is so important that to do the practice. And as well, some women, they use it, they insert it in, and they think that this is a magic tool.
Yeah.
I don't know, it kind of works in some way. I mean, it works something, but there's nothing comparable on doing an awareness practice, on doing the practice, on being present, on create this connection, and as well, yeah, inserting with another woman. So it's not only about buying the egg, it's about doing the practice. I think this is a very complete course and, you know, like a really, really good program to get into for a real transformation.
Yeah, what you're describing is so common. I actually had an egg for 5 years before I used it also, because women hear about the Jade Egg and they're like, ooh, like, yes, I want that. And then they buy one and then they're like, what the hell do I do with this thing? I don't know how to use this. And then it sits in their drawer for years and years and years collecting dust. Or like you said, maybe they put it in a couple of times and it's like, okay, like, now what? So yeah, I really find that it's like, it's nearly impossible for a woman to get into a Jade Egg practice without doing a course or a retreat or something like that. I mean, it's like trying to teach yourself yoga without ever going to a yoga class or without ever like watching yoga videos or anything like that. It's like, you need guidance, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and we highly recommend everybody watching this to check out Hilary's course, The Wonders of the Jade Egg, on our website, experienceblix.com. Thank you, Hilary, for everything that you have shared with us, for all the treasures and the wisdom. We have 2 more little questions that we're asking to everybody in the end, and just answer it quickly, intuitively. So the first question is, when you hear BliXX, what comes to mind?
I feel like sexy and mysterious. It's like, especially with the 2 X's, I'm like, ooh, that feels a little sexy, but like, what is it? Like, I'm kind of curious to know more.
Very good. And what is the single thing that allows you to feel more BliXX?
Uh, massaging the outside of my yoni.
Mm.
So
Nice.
getting in with my own sexuality and my own pleasure.
Mm. Mm.
I love these questions. You two are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mm.
So, yeah, thank you very much for sharing your